This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. I lend my voice to those who can. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome to the Special Chronicles show. My name is Daniel Smrokowski, and I'm the founder of Special Chronicles and a Special Olympics Southern Tribal International Global Messenger. Our website, specialchronicles.com. That's specialchronicles.com. We can stream our archives of over 750 episodes absolutely for free for the past 15 years. And to follow Special Chronicles on social media, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. A brief programming note. This episode is airing on the 5th of June, 2023, and the world's largest inclusive sports event, Special Olympics World Games, Berlin 2023, will take place next week from the 17th to the 25th of June, and 7,000 athletes from 190 delegations and 20,000 volunteers will show the world how we're unbeatable together for 9 days full of sports and emotions. Berlin2023.org, that's Berlin2023.org, to follow the journey of thousands of athletes like myself and our guest today with intellectual disabilities. And this month, June 2023, on the special, this week on the Special Chronicles podcast, we're on the road to Special Olympics World Games Berlin 2023 with Niall, who has been selected as part of Special Olympics Great Britain Cycling Team. Please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Niall to the Special Chronicles show. Welcome, Niall. Wait, there. I think Niall is up on the. There we go. There you go, Niall. Welcome. Good to have you on the show, and I just wanted just kind of a couple quick notes right off the bat when I was looking for a guest outside of my own USA delegation, and talking with someone from the local organizing committee who got me in touch with Tom, who is sitting backstage from SOGB. I believe we have lots of followers for this podcast and this platform on Special Chronicles. And I believe you've been already following Special Chronicles. And so on social media. So let's begin by having you introduce yourself. Tell us how many years you've been involved as a Special Olympics GB athlete and what disability you will diagnosed with.
Hi everyone. We're really happy to be on here today, and thank you for having me on this podcast. I'm the vice chair of the athlete leader of the athlete leadership team of Special Olympics Great Britain. My role is dedicated to helping SHOGB develop its business strategies and to focus the athlete's voice at its heart. I have been involved as a Special Olympic athlete for 17 years now, and I have a dual diagnosis of autism and intellectual disability. I have dyslexia, dyspraxia, and processing difficulties. Yeah.
Well, it's exciting to have you on the program, and in preparing for our recording today, I watched the TED Talk that you did and the story on you on the BBC. But we're going to get into much more of your story on this episode after a short break. Our guest is Niall, competed in cycling with SOGB at Special Olympics World Games in Berlin. And we'll be back after a short break.
Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcast, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give.
Our guest this week on the Special Chronicles show is Niall, competing in cycling with Team SOGB in Berlin at the Special Olympics World Summer Games. And so, Niall, as we all know in Special Olympics and in just talking with Tom before we press record, there was a lot of us Special Olympics athletes like yourself and myself and the millions of others across the globe that we start with sport and then we develop these other gifts that kind of outside of sport, but I guess at the foundation, the Special Olympic sports and leadership training is at the foundation. And so can you tell us about your challenges and also your joys and accomplishments because of your disability?
Talking is my biggest challenge, but part of my disability is that I struggle to speak. I've worked very hard to overcome this on a daily basis. I do not let this deter me. I find it hard to communicate in all forms, and I have support to do this. My capacity to process information is a lot slower and inhibits my ability to mix with people and get across my thoughts and feelings. I also struggle with anxiety. This impacts my ability to travel independently and meet new people. I need people to help me get places, and with support I'm able to live a positive life. There are many joys, to name a few. I love getting involved and being part of my community. I also enjoy connecting through my artwork and social media to spread a wider message of inclusion. Because I struggle to talk, I use social media as a powerful tool to connect with people, and I've had a lot of success through it. I'm very open and a present member of my community. I've found through social media people are very accepting and supportive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I found that as well, that people through social media have been very accepting and supportive, and like just like for myself, whether it's through social media or through this podcast platform on Special Chronicles, the community of listeners, the community of followers have been very loving and accepting and supportive. I do also kind of want to just briefly add on that I have noticed sometimes, and especially with like on YouTube and stuff, that there are some negative comments from people, but like what you said and like what I just said, the majority of the community is accepting and loving and supportive, just like we found in our Special Olympics movement, which moves us into the whole reason why we're having you on this podcast, to kind of share with us the beginning part of your story. Can you share with us how you first got involved in before the Special Olympics movement? Like, can you tell us a bit about your very early years?
I got involved through but I first got involved through basketball in 2009 when I said yes to competing at the Special Olympics National Summer Games in Leicester. I said no at first. The idea of being away from home was scary. Eventually, my mum convinced me that it would be good for my confidence. I loved it. I won a bronze medal and really enjoyed being part of a team. After that, I took part in more competitions. I felt happy that I had made more friends. I learned that saying yes was good and that my life was better for it, and the rest is history.
Awesome. Well, it's really neat. It's really, I feel like it's really empowering for our listeners to hear our stories of before we got involved in Special Olympics, because for a lot of athletes like yourself and myself and many others, just like your story, before we didn't have a lot of confidence before we got involved, and then once we got involved, and kind of like what I was talking about with Tom, who's sitting backstage before we started recording. Once we started competing in sports, the confidence that we've gained from sports and Special Olympics has opened up new avenues, which hopefully this will have our listeners keep listening to the end, because you're going to want to hear about Niall's social enterprise. But you, well, okay, I made some notes in watching the TED Talk that you did, but we're going to get to that right now a little bit. But can you tell us a little bit about what are the sports that you participate in Special Olympics?
I have competed in football, basketball, and I now compete in cycling. In Los Angeles in 2015, I won a gold medal representing Great Britain playing basketball. I am now training for the Berlin Summer Games in cycling. I train here in Sheffield through British Cycling Inclusive Cycling Team.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of our listeners, I think I'm sure wherever our listeners are listening to this podcast right now, they are probably applauding. And I have to say, just a couple connections. We don't have cycling here in Illinois in the program that I'm in, which I wish we did. But I also compete in basketball as well, and I just sort of similar to you. I was also in Los Angeles at those World Games in 2015. I wasn't competing. I was there more as like a journalist, producing a daily podcast on those, and which there was what, thousands of athletes. So it would have been neat to see you there, but yeah, that's a neat. That's one of my now that this is my last year as an SSIGM. That's one of my goals. Next is at one of the upcoming World Games to be able to compete in basketball, and so that's I'm sure that's must have been a lot of fun. And now that you're going to go to these next World Games in Berlin, that is just, well, by the time our listeners hear this, it will be just a couple weeks, a couple weeks away. And so, yeah. And another mutual friend of ours, Kayla Byland, who I'm sure you also know from your athlete leadership team. Yeah. She's been on this podcast as well, and I know she's won, I think, 6 gold medals in cycling at two different World Games, and so I hopefully I'm going to talk with my mentor and maybe along with Tom and Ian, maybe we can go down to the cycling venue to watch you compete. I'm sure Tom was listening backstage, can make a note of that to hopefully add that to our busy schedules. Moving on, as we all know, hopefully we'll get to see you compete. And so, as we all know, building from sport and Special Olympics, we've got our athlete leadership programs. Can you tell us how you both got involved in the athlete leadership programs with SOGB?
Special Olympics Great Britain had a call out 8 years ago. If anyone was interested in becoming an athlete leader, I attended a training day, and from that I was offered a place on the leadership team. Since then, I've done lots of training and have been given lots of support.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure if we have we have lots of people that listen to this podcast, but if there are any athletes that are not yet involved in athlete leadership, then we definitely want to recommend. And Tom is putting in the chat absolutely to go see you, Niall, compete in cycling. So we're looking forward to it. So if you we'll mention our social media channels at the end, but if you guys follow Niall, or if you follow me at PodmanDan, then we'll make sure to hopefully we'll get to take a picture in Berlin after you compete. And so moving on, speaking of our mutual friend, Ian Halpo, fellow Southern Survival International Global Messenger, sent me a message on WhatsApp to prepare for our program today. They tell me that you're currently vice chair, which you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, of SOGB Athlete Leadership Team. Can you share with us how have you developed since being on the athlete leadership team in SOGB?
My cheeky side has come out more as I have grown in confidence. That's a development. I would have to say my confidence overall in what I am capable of, which in turn has helped me to develop my communication skills.
Awesome. Well, I hope many of you listeners are hearing from Niall, because you will definitely be empowered to get to meet any of us athlete leaders from across the globe, whether it's in SOGB, whether it's in North America region, whatever program that you're listening from. Get involved in athlete leadership, because like what Niall said, the skills and what you gain from the confidence and the humor that is developed can really open so many opportunities for us athletes that before we got involved in this movement was not possible. So there's just so much more that we could say, but just go back and listen to any previous episode, hundreds and hundreds of episodes of this podcast, and you will hear many examples of the impact of athlete leadership. Moving on, before we take our next break, and before we get into our Road to Berlin part of the episode, can you share with us what's your favorite part of our Special Olympics movement? I'm sure there was a lot, but do you have a favorite part?
The first one that comes to mind is making friends. I have made lifelong friends, not just nationally but internationally. Friendships have been difficult for me throughout my early life. Special Olympics opened a world of friendships and opportunities for me.
I love that. Yeah, I also love. That's probably I have to agree with you. Is one of my favorite parts as well of our Special Olympics movement is making friends and lifelong friends through this movement. And like you said, not just nationally but internationally, and now. And now we're friends. We're connected on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll even when we turn the microphones off, like we'll continue to stay in touch, and just like Ian and Keela and the over 6 million athletes globally. I should do a better job at keeping up with those numbers, but anyways. We're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, we will hear about Niall's journey to Road to Berlin 2023, the Special Olympics World Games. When we come back, we'll hear much more on Niall's journey's Road to Berlin right here on SpecialChronicles.com. We'll be right back.
Support for Special Chronicles comes from listeners like you. As an independent public media podcast, Special Chronicles will always be there for you. Now we're asking you to be there for us. As a nonprofit independent media organization, we can only make programs like Special Chronicles with listener support. Our programs provide weekly, candid, honest, and inspiring conversations about the people with disabilities community that creates awareness, support, and advocacy within each week's episode. Listeners tell us our shows are an enjoyable and necessary podcast for the intellectual and developmental disability community and everyone else who is able to listen to stories about life from a different angle. Please, if you and your family love our weekly podcasts, make a one-time, monthly, or annual gift of thanks today. Support this podcast at specialchronicles.com/give. That's specialchronicles.com/give. Support for Special Chronicles comes from ComEd. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with the ComEd Energy Force Ambassador Program. The Energy Force is the country's first energy efficiency education program designed for and taught by people with disabilities. ComEd is powering lives, and really is powering us here at Special Chronicles to keep the lights on and our technology is powered on. As ComEd powers the lives of us, they are literally giving a voice to people with special needs. We thank ComEd for the generous support of our mission at Special Chronicles. Learn more at specialchronicles.com/ComEd. That's specialchronicles.com/ComEd. Support for Special Chronicles comes from United Airlines Bridge Disability Business Resource Group. Special Chronicles is proud to partner with United Airlines and the Bridge BLG. Bridge BLG is committed to being an ally for all employees and customers with disabilities. Bridge helps to create internal awareness to keep accessibility needs in mind and partner with key organizations to empower disability inclusion for employment and travel. Bridge, connecting people of all abilities. Book your travel today on United.com or on the award-winning United app. Learn more on United's commitment to disability inclusion for employment and travel at specialchronicles.com/United. That's specialchronicles.com/United.
Our guest this week on the Special Chronicles show and our World to Berlin series is Niall Guite in cycling with Team SOGB. And as we all know, competing at the Special Olympics World Games is, well, I would say usually for most, which has been true for the last previous guests on this series, on this World to Berlin series, is a once in a lifetime opportunity. But for you, in this case, it's a two in a lifetime opportunity. And so, for those listening who have not had an opportunity, this is going to be, I'm sure many of our listeners are going to be tuned into, in particular, this segment at about 28 minutes into the episode. And so, can you share with us how you were selected to compete as a part of the SOGB Cycling Team at Special Olympics World Games Berlin 2023? Can you tell us about a moment when you heard that you were being selected as a part of the SOGB Cycling Team going to compete at the World Games? Can you tell us about what it's like to be selected?
Yeah, I sent my application into Special Olympics Britain. I was out the day the news came through. My mum found out before me, and she got me to sit down in the living room. She handed a pile of flashcards that said I had been selected. I got really excited, and we both jumped and danced around the living room together. We used the same set of flashcards to break the news to my dad. It was priceless to see my dad's reaction.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure your dad and your mom and your family are all proud to see you competing for the second time at the World Games in Berlin. As we all know, there's a lot of training that goes. So it's not just competing for the 9 days of competition, but as we know, there's a lot of training that goes into any big, whether it's a local regional competition, whether it's a national competition, or in this case at the World Games. Can you tell us about your training camp experience?
It's been really fun. I have learnt a lot of new things about nutrition. We spent a lot of quality time with our team, so we can get to know each other really well and get to meet other squads that are going to. We do a lot of skills training and discuss tactics as well. We have a lot of meetings to discuss what our schedule will be in when we are in Berlin, so that we can prepare and know what to expect.
Awesome. Well, yeah, it's definitely very good to prepare both in the sport, but also in the schedule of what to expect, because I'm sure it will be I know as well from firsthand experience that it's different than your daily routine, and so to be able to practice those and to get ready. Can you share with us what you are looking forward to at the Special Olympics World Games Berlin 2023? What are you looking forward to?
I'm really looking forward to representing my country and the opening ceremony. The opening ceremony is always such a wonderful event. I'm really looking forward to seeing all the different performances that will be on.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'm looking forward to the opening ceremony as well. I'm sure you'll probably see Ian and myself on stage, and we're looking forward to seeing you along with all the other delegations walk in. I don't know if you heard the official song for the World Games by MadCon, "Are You Ready?" But there's supposed to be a big dance party that's a part of the opening ceremonies, and I should have queued this up before. Oh, here we go. Let me just go ahead and plug in this. We don't have permission to play the whole song, so it's gonna play a few seconds if I can find the right channel here for the World Games.
Show me you ready for the greatest moment of your entire life. Are you ready? Oh, just do your best. 'Cause this is where we show the world we shine a light. I feel strong.
Okay. I wish we could play the whole song, but we don't have permission. But it's "Are You Ready" by MadCon. You can find it on Spotify or wherever you get music. I'll try to remember to put a link in the show notes for if you guys want to listen and jam out. I know the past week have been having it on repeat on my Spotify. Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna move on. As we all know, when our fans and when people see you compete and see us at the World Games, there's going to be a big impact that's going to be made. Can you share us what impact do you hope to make at the world's largest inclusive sports event?
I hope to say that sport is for everyone. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sure. I hope that everyone will see that as well. That sport is for everyone. We're going to go ahead and take one final break and get to some final thoughts and to talk about Niall's social enterprise that you guys do not want to miss. And we'll, for those of you listening to the audio podcast, go check out the video on YouTube. You'll be able to, in the last segment, see, we'll show you some of Niall's artwork. But we'll be back right after this final break right here with on our road to Berlin with Niall from the SOGB Cycling Team competing at the World Games in Berlin 2023. We'll be back on Special Chronicles.
Special Chronicles is hosted by PodmanDan Podcast Hosting, the easiest, most affordable option to get started in podcasting. At Special Chronicles, we proudly host our weekly podcast with Podbean and highly recommend you use Podbean Podcast Hosting to get started in podcasting today. Sign up for an unlimited hosting plan and get 1 month free now to get started in podcasting today when you visit specialchronicles.com/Podbean. That's specialchronicles.com/Podbean. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard, the easiest way to create professional live streams. StreamYard is a live streaming studio in your browser. Interview guests, share your screen, and much more. Stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, and other platforms. Sign up for StreamYard today using our StreamYard referral link when you visit specialchronicles.com/StreamYard. That's specialchronicles.com/StreamYard.
And there you go. And I was messaging time backstage in preparation for our guest is Niall as we continue our Road to Berlin 2023 series. And for those of you listening, you can go to specialchronicles.com, click on podcasts, and click on Special Olympics World Games to find many other episodes in this series. In preparation for today's podcast program, I watched your story, Niall, on the BBC and your TED Talk. 2 of your pictures are being displayed at London's Royal Academy. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen here. And as you see, for those of you watching the full video podcast, you'll see some Niall's artwork. We'll also put a link to Niall's website so you can see and if you want to purchase any of his artwork. But Niall, can you tell us about your social enterprise in conjunction with SOGB called Out with a Special Goal, and what is your social enterprise?
With the support of Special Olympics GB, I started the social enterprise Out with a Special Goal, where I sell prints of my original illustrations of sports stadiums across the world. A percentage of the profits go to supporting athletes like me and supports them to gain employment. There are 1.5 million people like myself in the UK alone, yet we have very little representation. Only 6% of us are in paid employment. This is a very special goal of mine to help change in all that I do. Try to celebrate sport and help raise the awareness of people with an intellectual disability. Because of my enterprise, I am now work as a paid artist. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant that you're helping to change that inclusive employment to that, like you said, in Great Britain, only 6% of those of us with learning disabilities have paid employment. And so what you're showing to society is that you can be a paid artist. You can, like, those of us, even though we have challenges, we still have the ability to be independent, to have paid employment, and it's really neat that in addition to that, it goes to support SOGB. So why did you become an artist? What do you like about creating art? Because it's amazing. Like seeing for those of you listening to the audio podcast, we really hope that you go check out the full video podcast on YouTube to see some of Niall's artwork that is being displayed on the screen. But Niall, why did you become an artist, and what do you like about creating art?
I have always liked to draw in my spare time since I was a child. During the COVID lockdown, I took on the 2.6 challenge, created instead of the London Marathon, which had been cancelled. I decided to draw 26 football stadiums, which I would sell to raise funds for Special Olympics GB. Through Twitter, I raised over £6,000 in total. It's something that makes me really happy and connects me to a huge passion of mine, which is football.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really neat that it's been able to make you happy in that you're able to create this out and for a movement such as Special Olympics to be able to give back to support the sports and leadership and health and education programs within this movement is amazing. Can you share with our listeners, and I'm going to put the link up on the screen, but for those of you watching the video, the audio podcast, look in the description below in the show notes, and we'll put a link to Niall's website. But can you share where our listeners can see you out? They see it up on the screen here, but can you share where the listeners can see you out and purchase you out, or if they want to commission you to create out with a special goal? Can you share with us where they can? Can you share with us your website and social media?
You can check out Art with a Special Goal at nowguite.com and follow my journey at the World Games on my social media channels at nowguite SOGB.
Awesome. Well, we'll put links to those in the show notes if you want to follow Niall's journey to the Special Olympics World Games Berlin 2023, the world's largest inclusive sports event. At Niall, it's at NIALLGUITESOGB, and we'll put links to his website as well in the show notes. And if you want to connect with your local, we'll also put links in the show notes to Ned's story, which was featured on the BBC, as well as to Niall's TEDx talk that you don't want to miss. So we'll make sure, I know I just watched it before we first recorded on this program. And if you have been empowered and you want to get involved in your local Special Olympics program, just go and you can head over to specialolympics.org. That's specialolympics.org, and find your local program. no matter what region or country that you're in. I believe there's over 190 countries, and so you can find your local program to get involved. SpecialOlympics.org. And if you want to join us in Berlin, because I think this episode airs on the 5th of June, so hopefully if it's not too late, or if you're listening to this and you're in Europe, or if you just want to fly on over or take a train, or however you travel, you can head on over to Berlin2023.org to get tickets to come and see Niall compete in cycling. And that is the week of the 17th to the 25th of June. That's Berlin2023.org. And we'll put all those links in the show notes. And the final question we always conclude these podcast conversations with is one final question. And let's go ahead and roll that bumper.
We're not just athletes.
We are the ambassadors of an uprising. Peaceful protesters.
In a rebellion against anyone
who has a fear of difference.
different.
Difference. Our demands are
Equality.
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 dignity, dignity,
dignity, and the recognition of our
shared humanity.
We will not stop or accept anything less.
Today, our world is
More divided than ever.
And coming together has never been more urgent.
The revolution.
Is inclusion.
Find out more at jointherevolution.org.
And now, ever since I attended the 2019 Special Olympics World Games in Abu Dhabi, I've been asking all of our guests one final question. I'll do the same with you, Niall. As you know, inclusion and inclusion revolution is a big part of, it's a big message of our Special Olympics movement. Inclusion is important here at Special Chronicles. And so I'll ask you the final question, and that is, what does inclusion mean to you?
Inclusion means to me that everyone with an intellectual disability is included in society, not just in sport but in all areas. That's true inclusion for me now. Minority is excluded, full stop.
Awesome. I am messaging in our private chat here, but that's I love what you said, that that inclusion to you is that everyone with intellectual disabilities included in society. And I think your story is a perfect example of that, where it's not just in sport, but in all areas in our life, that no minority should be excluded, including those of us like yourself and myself with intellectual or learning disabilities. Yeah, that's a perfect way to wrap up this episode. We're gonna, for those of you listening, I hope you have enjoyed Niall's story. This month of June 2023 on the Special Chronicles podcast, we have weekly episodes that will drop as we go on the road to Berlin 2023. So keep following or tap that follow button right up there. Wherever you're listening to this, tap that follow button for the Special Chronicles podcast, so you never miss new episodes featuring conversations. This month of June, we have conversations about the law enforcement tow run, and also with the CEO of the Special Olympics World Games Berlin 2023 that will air the 19th of June. So you do not want to miss. So please keep following or tap that follow button on the Special Chronicles podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows as new episodes drop weekly. Don't miss our original content that will help you make impactful and inclusive connections in your life through our podcast. And remember to visit specialchronicles.com. That's specialchronicles.com, where you can stream archives of over 750 episodes absolutely for free. And follow Special Chronicles on social media, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Have a great week. And And I'll talk to you next week right here on SpecialChronicles.com. And until then, remember, choose to include, and we're unbeatable together. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles Podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, SpecialChronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, SpecialChronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by PodmanDan Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks as always to our business manager, Daniel Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.